Welcome to Talk Tennis. Today, you guys, we are talking about one of my absolute favorite things, tennis bags. And I have Jack Oswald, the founder, creator, brilliant man who created the Concha tennis bags with me today. And we're going to talk all about those, but also hear a little bit about his background. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. No, I'm
Of,
glad to be here.
of course. And okay, we have to just like kind of give you a better introduction to our listeners. You are, I don't want to say former because I'm pretty sure you're still playing, but you are a player. You've been traveling for tennis your whole life. This is kind of like if anyone were to make a bag, you kind of know the ins and outs of the traveling craziness. You even said you're in Barcelona right now recording this. So give me a quick little
Yeah.
like bio on who you are and what makes you tick.
Yeah. So I mean, from the tennis side, I've been playing tennis since I was 5 years old, and really it just gelled with me from the get-go. My dad showed me how to play. He was he was really into tennis, but never sort of seriously. But I just really got into it and hit the ground running really. And so when I was just little, I started playing a lot and really quite often. And but actually, I actually lived in America, so I should probably explain that. So I was actually born in America to British parents. So I was playing in the States a lot, actually. I lived in Virginia,
Okay.
in a real small town called Roanoke, Virginia. So shout out to anyone, without anyone's listening here from Roanoke, Virginia, but it's beautiful parts of America. It's, you know, with Blue Ridge Mountains, really, really nice. And so I grew up there playing tennis. And yeah, so it just started that way, really. I was playing national tournaments around Virginia in America, and I had a coach who sort of saw something in me, I guess, I don't know. And he used to take me around with his son, who was also really into tennis and was playing really well, at a better level than me, actually. And so that's kind of how it started. And I really got the bug that way. And I used to play against his son all the time and just thinking, oh, one day I'll beat him, one day I'll beat him. And this is like 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. And he eventually stopped, actually, and I kept going and just kept going and really just didn't mind the travel, loved the travel really, and just loved playing tournaments. Really was lucky to play some junior events. And when I got to 14, 15, went back over to Europe. So I was playing quite a bit in France and quite a bit in Britain as well. So it's nice to go back to my home country, sort of home country. And yeah, so really just was able to make the most of it really, and was playing a lot junior tournaments. And when I got to about 17, 18, started traveling more and started trying to play some pro events and just kept doing that really, and was trying to make my way through the tour. And I sort of really got to know the sort of the grind of the tour as well. You know, it sounds really glamorous when you hear about the guys coming through the ranks and the women coming through the ranks and really making their way. But it's tough. It's a lot of traveling. You know, not all the places you go to are just so glamorous and so nice and so comfortable. Sometimes you're dying of heat, or
Mhm.
sometimes you've got no air conditioning, or you've got just struggling to sleep where you are. You know, all those sorts of things kind of get to you, and so it can be difficult out there. And I was traveling a lot, traveling on planes, traveling buses, trains, what have you. And it really, in about 3 years ago, it kind of occurred to me, like, well, I was traveling with a lot of bags, for one thing. I mean, that's just one thing a tennis player never seems to ever be able to get rid of. Constant duffel bags, tennis bags, backpacks, suitcases. Just can't seem to get rid of them as a tennis player if you're traveling for tournaments and things. And if you're traveling for leisure as well, it's similar. Just trying to carry your rackets around with you everywhere is, and they're precious, and you don't want to put them in the hold of an airplane and let them go and just say goodbye.
Right.
So that was kind of how it all started, really, with the idea of bags, really. And I saw a lot of other sports like golf, where they sort of all these sort of nice sort of premium bags that were really well made and looked after your stuff. And I was kind of looking at the competition out there and thinking, well, bags are kind of secondary. It seems they're kind of a secondary option. If you'll buy the rackets, and then it's like, right, I need a bag, I guess. And I sort of saw a gap there, and I thought, well, for myself, I really was struggling with the bags I had, because there was breaking on me, the zips, and maybe something spilled, or it was raining a lot where I was, and the water got through, and didn't want that wet grips for a match, and all sorts of things like that, or just things breaking on me. And also they're very bulky, traditional tennis bags, so it's difficult to take them on a plane, difficult to take them on anything really, and they didn't really serve any purpose outside of just taking them to the tennis courts. It was kind of, that's where they resided the way it seemed to me. And so I just really tried to make a better tennis bag for myself, and it kind of really sort of bloomed from there.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I talked to a few players here and there, and I've already gotten today like 2 texts from players with bag issues. And it's the worst, especially when you're on the road and you're like, my strap just broke, or my bag's so dingy and dirty, it's
Yeah.
embarrassing to carry it on the court. And you're right. And something that I've noticed with Concha bags is that you've gotten some attention from people that maybe are not professional tennis players, but they're professional in their world. So we're talking about like professional people in the business world, or, like what they do is a very professional thing, but they also love tennis and they're traveling and they want a bag that's going to be like, I can take my rackets on this business trip. I can go play tennis and I don't have to worry. So when I started to see people kind of like chime in and say like, no one else has bags like these. These look unique. The style's a little different, something new. And then seeing other people validify, like, these work great, like, check them out. That's when I was like, okay, I need to know a little bit more. Let's kind of start with, how long did it take for you to kind of come up with the concept to creation? And like, what did that process look like for you?
We started in 2018. That's when the idea came really to me, and I started thinking, well, how can I make this happen? And I was just looking around in my local area and looking at connections and seeing, because I, didn't know anything about bags, if I'm honest, and when I very first started, and I think hopefully I know a bit more about them now, certainly. But I think when I started, it was very much sort of just trying to figure out about the industry, textiles in general, understand about fabrics and compositions and densities and all these sorts of things that most people just don't think about when they're buying a bag, because they kind of just hope that someone else will sort it through. But I started to think about these things and initial sort of concept ideas. But I really was very lucky to meet a very good friend of mine now, who owns a bespoke design agency in the UK, who's worked on some projects for Apple with things like that and industrial design sort of thing, and also with some bag brands things. And so we started just to work together and constantly trying to come up with what we were really looking for. And we like the backpack idea because the backpack was more comfortable than wearing over your shoulder. And that was always something I found, was wearing bags over my shoulder really difficult to carry around. So we wanted the backpack idea, really comfortable, but then we also want to be able to carry more rackets inside. Want all your rackets fully protected. You don't want handles sticking out. But then also this idea of that really started to come in was, how do we make it so? Because I mean, what I want out of a bag is not necessarily what this person wants out of a bag. Is not necessarily what this person needs it for. What their lifestyle is like. So that's where this whole modular concept came up, which is really what sets Kancha really, I suppose, apart from other brands, is the modular side. And that's where we have different accessories that can be mounted onto the bag and can be customized by each user to match their sort of daily routine. And that's where it's really come into with sort of business people and things like that, who say, well, yeah, I mean, I want to carry my rackets, but I also want to be able to take off, like after our day bag, for example, put it on my shoulder and take it off into work, and carry my iPad and my cables and my work stuff around with me and put it back on my racket bag and go to the courts in the evening or something like that. That's where it's really gelled with a lot of people there. But I think in terms of how the process, it was sort of we probably went through over 100 samples. I mean,
Wow.
so many samples, different fabrics, trying the modular concept didn't work several times. Well, many times didn't work. Trying to figure out how to make it easy, how do you make it, simple enough for somebody to attach, but also where somebody can't just take it off the back of your bag while you're in the middle of an airport and run off with half of your things. So we wanted to make it secure. So that really took a long time. And then the other part of it was actually finding, how can we scale this into production? Because there's one thing making our own little workshop here in the UK, but how do we make this available to people around the world? And so that took us a long time as well, and find the right suppliers. Also, we wanted to really make sure that what we were doing was sustainable at the same time. So we were trying to find fabrics that were, that had minimal impact on the environment, and that's where really we started to look into what's called Bluesign, which is a sort of a certification that ensures that fabrics have upheld certain standards when they're produced to reduce their impact on the environment and things, because obviously textiles is a huge contributor to all of this. So that was really important to us, and we were able to find those after 3 years, really, or those sort of suppliers. That was really the process it took. It was kind of designing the bag, which the bags and all the modularity and all the different accessories and everything, and that took some time. And then it was really trying to find about how do we make this available and producible for the public.
And maybe you can talk me through, I actually have the Racket bag with me. Maybe you can talk me through kind of some of the features, what the material's like, what sets your bag apart, because I think it's quite obvious once I have it in hand. It definitely feels different than any bag that I've felt. It has that like light, but still it's going to be super durable material. And then even like I've got the day bag with me as well. And the functionality of being able to like pop this on and off and be able to like carry it as a crossbody, especially like when you're traveling in the airport. I think that's so special. I've already told you and geeked out about how I'm obsessed with the wet dry bag. I don't even have it here right this second because it's got my dirty gear. But like
Yeah.
like we've talked about this before. I'm a sweater, and like no joke, when you put your sweaty clothes into your like normal backpack or tennis bag, it like seeps through the whole bag. Like why hasn't the tennis
I
world?
feel you. I feel
Yeah.
you.
So like it's such a struggle. And like you literally are like the only one that has like figured out like this is a way to keep it from like it literally won't get anything else wet.
I think the fabric itself we went through many different fabrics, and the fabric we've chosen is it's a very high density nylon, but it's also quite lightweight. It's got sort of high tenacity nylon, it's called, and it's got this sort of this cross pattern that kind of increases the tenacity of it, and it's also highly water resistant. So that was a big thing as well. Obviously, trying to keep rackets free us from the elements and things, so that we kept all of that in the design, and wanted to try and make sure that it was really water resistant. And then the zips as well. We use I think a big thing of Kancha, what we use is the actually design processes as we use as well, is that the zips are all not sewn in, which sewing zips is a breaking point on bags. So like this is where they're sewn on, but also it's where water can get in. It was water ingress. So we bond them in, so which means we use a heating pressing method, which makes all the zips basically entirely water resistant, making sure the water doesn't get in, but also very, very durable. Because that was what happened to me, is that the zips were always the part that broke for me. I was over stretching the bag, and it broken the zips. That was something I really wanted to fix. And and then all of the fabric was cut by a laser. It's not cut by cutting machines. It's cut by an actual laser that cuts in very specific. So every bag is absolutely identical to the other one. It keeps our quality control, and it makes sure that we can actually get the design that we're looking for as well, which is really important. Then of course the modular design, which what we worked on, is actually based on what the US Armed Forces use to attach their different accessories when they're tactical gear and things like that. And I really liked that, because think about that sort of person, needs really to have different things all the time, be able to take them on and off easily. But what we wanted something was maybe something slightly more refined, maybe not quite as complicated as a sort of a tactical gear sort of thing, and easy enough for somebody, intuitive for somebody to be able to use it and understand how that works. So that was kind of the idea behind the modular design. And our backpack has that as well, and all the same accessories work with the backpack. And then the wet dry bag, yeah, I mean, I completely get you there. I mean, I'm a big sweater as well in hot countries and things, and it's just sticking it into the main compartment in your bag, wet clothes and things like that is not fun. So you can detach the wet compartment from the wet dry bag off. It can go in the washing machine with the rest of your stuff. You can just leave it to dry, whatever works. But it's great. It's one of my favorites, if I'm honest. And yeah.
Something else that's quite obvious to me, and I talk to a lot of people that play tennis. I don't see any logos. And that is a selling point for many people. I hear constantly, "Oh my gosh, I love that bag, but why is the logo so big? Or do you have one without a logo?" So talk to me about your branding method.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Kancha, the design of the bag speaks for itself, and I think you kind of see that with some other brands, and not in the tennis space, but some other sort of bag brands and things, where you can really tell the design from miles away. You don't need to see any logos, and that really, I mean, I just felt like when I was traveling on tour, I mean, I fleeted in and out of sponsorships with brands and things like that, but it was almost as like the bag was just plastered with massive logos to sort of promote the brand, which is fair enough, but people aren't always looking for that. People aren't looking to be a walking billboard, for a brand. They kind of, allows what we wanted with Kancha is to be able to people to express their own individuality and their own style. And so that's why we came up with these range of colors. And we also didn't want logos everywhere. And that was really important. And So we've kept branding to a minimum, try and keep the design really fresh and new, and try and give that our identifying purpose, so to speak. And instead of putting logos everywhere, that's kind of how we do it. And of course, there are some people that like logos, and that's fine. But for us, it was really about that's what Kancher is about to me. Is we obviously make bags, but it's about individual expression, and being able to go out about and do your passions, and have that, and providing tools that allow people to go out and pursue their passions, but also be themselves, show their individuality. And that's what I wanted to do through the brand. And that's what we've kind of the really strong resonating part of what we do is being able to really provide that to customers.
Nice. Now I have to ask, where does the name come from?
Yeah, so I speak French and Spanish. I spent a lot of time in Spain and France and Latin America, and in Mexico, places like that. Cancha is tennis court, so it's part of that. But cancha also means sort of place of activity. It's used for in lots of sports, and it's also used for somebody who's got cancha in Spanish. It means they've got a lot of sort of energy and passion, and they're driven, and they're so I really resonated with that, because it's and that's where really cancha comes into it's a tennis brand. We make tennis bags, but also it's about finding your inner passion, finding your inner motivations, and that's what really the name means to me, and to others hopefully as well.
And on that note, I have to also ask, I am sure this process probably wasn't the easiest moving forward, and, even introducing the bags into the market. I know it can be cutthroat and it can be a tough situation. So how many times did you want to quit, and how did you kind of like re-navigate on those tough days?
Yeah, great question. I think the thing with business is it actually is quite similar to tennis. And I think I learned a lot on the tour with getting constant setbacks. Tennis is a very hard sport to make it professionally in, and I had lots of setbacks and dealt with lots of difficulties. And I don't think I would have got anywhere with Cancha without my experience in tennis, and I think that's taught me a lot and given me the sort of the passion and really the drive to keep going. But yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of times. I mean, there's a sort of a anecdote. I remember we had a sort of a crowdfunding campaign to launch Cancha a year and a bit back, and we had our sample, was our final sample. We're supposed to be shooting for this video that we were doing for the crowdfunding shoot, and I got a call from my designer that it was then 8 a.m. starting the video the next morning, and at 9 p.m., and he was about 2 hours from me, 9 p.m. he said, "It's not ready." And I said, "Oh my gosh, we've got to video this in about 5 hours." So I drove over there at 9 p.m., got there at about 11 p.m., worked on it with him, sewing things, laser cutting things, all these sort of processes we have in our workshop, trying to get this sample ready until 4 a.m. And at 4 a.m. it was ready. And I had to drive another 3 hours to where we were shooting it. And I got there at 7:30 a.m., started the video at 8 a.m. Things like that happen all the time. And sometimes it's like, you get the buzz from it. And sometimes you're just like, oh, why do I do this? Why am I doing this? I mean, maybe no one's even gonna like the bags, so there's always those sort of negative thoughts and positive thoughts, and kind of dealing with those emotions is a tough part. But I completely synonymize with that, because tennis is like that. You've got so many points in a match, one where you're kind of thinking, oh my god, what's going on, how did I miss that, how did I do that? And then you've got another one where suddenly you're thinking, oh, I'm actually playing well, and you're trying to manage these just conflicting emotions constantly and stay on the right path. And I think that's what I've just taken on board with Cancha, is that things won't go my way, things will go my way, things won't go everyone's way. You just have to keep pushing forwards, and that's kind of it's helped me so far. I mean, it is a rocky road, and I feel very fortunate that we've had some praise among customers, and that people have really enjoyed the bags and understand that the problem we're trying to solve. And I think that's just a fantastic feeling. But there are always setbacks. I'd say there are probably several every day, and there are also positive things that happen every day, and it's just riding that wave, I guess.
Yeah. And I have to give you props, because I think what sets you guys apart is that you weren't trying to make another racket bag to like fit in with what is already on the market. It definitely kind of sits on its own. It looks different. It is different. It's not a monster combi, like huge, like 12 pack, it's literally exactly kind of what I said. It's such a great option for a professional person that like is looking to play tennis, but also has so much other stuff going on in their life. But speaking of professionals, did you have any pro players testing prototypes or working with you or giving you ideas or trying it out?
I think that was the first point of call. Really, is going to pro players and showing them the bag. And I remember I was in a few tournaments in Peru a couple of years back and gave them some sort of first early testers, players, good friends of mine, and it was just fantastic to get their opinions, and they really resonated with the brand, but also really were quite critical and gave their, and that's fun. I mean, you have to take critique strongly and try and improve from it, and that helped us a lot. And also I think talking about, I mean, no one really wants to bring this COVID pandemic in, but actually that was a step back that really helped us as well, is that we were planning to launch sort of beginning of 2020, and we're set back from that, and actually we're able to really improve our products, and we had some extra time to give them some further testing among tennis players, and who were kind of sitting around and looking for things to do because there weren't any tournaments on, so they were happy to take it on. So yeah, I mean, they were tested thoroughly by pro players, and that was always our first point of call. But the bag, like like you've said, is it's a pro level bag for people who aren't pros, and it's to give people that sense of they can care for their gear, they can carry their gear, and they can find the right equipment to help them play, but they don't have to be top 100 in the world for that. And that really, I really like that, because people can start tennis at any stage in their life, and they can take it seriously at any stage in their life, and they can enjoy it at any stage in their life, and sort of we're here to help them along that journey.
Yeah, for sure. I also have to give you props. Your website is beautiful, and I think it's like so nice compared to some other websites that I've seen or people trying to launch gear. Do you like, first of all, where'd you get all your like business savviness? And do you use your friends and colleagues as models, or are you using just because I think it feels like it's very like personable, like all the shots on there, like they look like tennis players. So I have to give you props.
I appreciate that. Well, I think the first thing I did was not put me on the photos. I think that was the best thing I ever did, is not put me on the photos. That helped. And I think in terms of sort of business thing, knowledge, and I was very lucky that my dad, when I lived in America, the reason we moved out there is my dad ran a manufacturing business in Virginia for about 15 years, and I never appreciated it when I was little. It just sounded like work and boring work and that. But now I tell him every day how I wish that he was still doing this, because I'm passionate about business and creating sort of bringing interesting products into the market and things now. But I think he helped me a lot along the journey. He's been my absolute biggest coach and supporter and advisor throughout the whole thing. And I've always been able to go back to him and say, look, I don't know what to do. I'm really stuck. I feel like wherever I go, it's not right. And he just set me through the stages, and actually, things came out through the bright side. And I think he's been a huge help for me. My idol. My dad is definitely my idol in many ways. But I think that's been hugely helpful. I think learning along the way, that's the biggest thing. I wouldn't. People think that you need, an MBA and whatever to run a bit. You don't. What you need to be able to do is to be genuine, and to understand where you are and understand where you need to be, and just keep chugging along that path, because you will learn. I mean, 90% of what I learn has been just through doing it, and coming across problems and having to find a way. And the great thing about the internet as well is that everything is out there at your disposal. You can really stack up on knowledge quite quickly, which is just fantastic. I think I've had a lot of help along the way with met the right people who, whether it's to do with digital marketing, whether it's to do with websites, whether it's to do with design, whether it's to do with previous experience, huge amounts of support and help and luck have come into things. But I think, yeah, just sticking along your path and not comparing yourself to other people, because I've always, very often in tennis, been put across the prodigy, and, seeing someone across the net who's 4 years younger than you, who's 300 places higher in the rankings than you. And, that happens all the time. And you have to just say, you know what, that's where they are. This is where I am. I don't care. This is what I'm doing. And the same with business is that you say that, this is the path we're going along, whether it takes us a long time, whether this something happens quickly. This is just our unique path. And I think that's what's helped hugely is with that.
Yeah, I love that. That makes sense. What's next? I feel like I'm sure, and I hate to like be like, okay, now on to the next project. But I can only imagine that you have some things in the works. I would assume that maybe we'll see more bags, bigger bags, duffel bags. I don't know. Can you speak to any new projects you might be working on?
Yeah, we've got a bigger racket bag coming out, which fits sort of 6 to 8 rackets inside. So for maybe a bit more of a less sort of a seasoned player who needs to carry more of their gear. Same modular system, that's all the same accessories, but yeah, just a bit more volume, a bit more space, but same sort of minimal aesthetic, so that it's easy to travel with, adaptable to each person's needs. So that's going to be coming out probably September time, in production at the moment, but yeah, in September time. So that'll be exciting. And in terms of where else, I think wherever we see that we can make an impact, we could, tennis is our primary market, and what we're really trying to innovate for. And I think there's lots of ways to innovate. We could, it's possible to go into things like rackets and things like that, but I wouldn't do that until I felt like we could really do something different. And really, I could, hand on my heart, say that if I could really feel like we could actually compete against in a product sense, against some of the big guns in the market, then it might be something we want to get into. I think there's some other things in the works as well, but I think we want to keep bringing out more bags that can be adaptable for more different types of tennis players and types of users, travelers. And also, maybe try and see what else we can innovate in the tennis market.
It's always fun when you get like those samples, and I don't know how you are, but like you can't wait to use it. Or you're like, I'm going on this trip. I might need to get a bag created for this reason. So I'm sure it's been fun also testing. I know you said you've been through like hundreds of samples. That's probably like 50 more than you need, but it's probably fun for you also to kind of like pack up the new version and give it a test, I would assume.
Absolutely, it's one of the best things ever when it arrives, and because I'm always the first one, so it's just brilliant. I always feel like I always feel like I'm one of these. I suppose I feel a little bit like you do every day, I suppose, but not quite as often. But I just when a new bag comes, and it just feels really cool to be able to. I'm on to our designer or the factory, and straight away with ideas and trying to think, well, I like this, I like this, and then first thing is giving it to the next person and seeing what they think, and that's always fun. It is always fun. Yeah, I mean, knowing what to do with them after is always difficult. I mean, I think I always go back to my parents. Do you want one? No. I think we've got enough now. No. I think you honestly would like one. That sort of conversation happens quite often.
Holidays.
But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah.
I know. I always joke. I'm like, I could probably take a different bag, like for each trip. But then it's like, oh, do you like this bag? I know you need a duffel. Yeah. I know the feeling. What's going on with your tennis?
Yeah. So I mean, up until now, I think up before sort of pandemic and all that sort of thing, I was traveling frequently. Cancha wasn't as time consuming as it is now. And then of course during the pandemic, I was fully on with Cancha. I was still able to practice and train and things, which I was very lucky to be able to do, but I wasn't really able to play many tournaments. So I mean, some of the very high pro level events were still going on, but not the sort of lower level futures challengers circuit. That was kind of stopped for most of 2020, so I wasn't playing that much. I did get from 2021 back into it and was competing quite a bit, and still playing quite a bit, but it's getting more difficult, if I'm honest. And I'm quite enjoying sort of taking a back seat now, and sort of actually really, I mean, I'm interested in other areas in tennis as well, and I'm really passionate about trying to make the tour more feasible for more players, because there are what I've certainly seen out there is there's huge amounts of talent out there. And I mean, also from the perspective of the spectators, at the level at the futures and challengers event is still fantastic to watch. And if we could get more fans watching that, just like they do in other sports, lower level professional tennis is still great to watch. So I'm really want to get into that and trying to find ways to make it more feasible for fans to come and visit and watch more of those sort of lower level pros play. and make it more financially viable for those players, because at the moment it is difficult, and the level is very high, and it gets very hard to compete and to travel week in, week out, and financially it's very difficult for players. So I think it's something I really quite would like to get into as well, is trying to help make that more of a thing, and make tennis more available for players who maybe haven't got the funds to travel week in, week out every week of the year.
I love that. And I know you're not alone in that. There's a lot of players trying to push
Oh, yeah.
for that. So keep being resilient, because I 100% agree. And even with our listeners, I'm like, okay, yes, there's a 500, a WTA 500, but like this 50K ITF is also insanely awesome to watch. And you're going to see so many good players. So keep pushing, please.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be fun to end this episode with, I thought it would be fun to end this episode with you giving us something unique, or like 5 must-haves for your tennis bag.
I think 5 must-haves are probably pretty standard across, but I think I definitely have something unique which I take around with me everywhere, and that's one of my dad's books.
What?
And this sounds a bit crazy. So I mean, I think the 5 must-haves have got to be, I think 5 must-haves have got to be my grip, spare clothes. I have to take several match tops around with me, even though I only ever wear one for a match. Just superstition. If I don't have several different, shirts to wear, then for some reason I feel like when I get into a match I'm going to over sweat or something. Who knows? But those are sort of fairly standard ones. But I think my dad's an author, and he's started late. Well, I mean, he's been writing, but he published late, and it's kind of a comfort thing knowing that his book is in my tennis bag wherever I go. And it's a silly thing, but it really gives me some sort of extra motivation, gives me some, whenever I'm traveling around the world, it kind of gives me a piece of home as well, which is nice. So that's my little unique thing I have to take around with me.
That's awesome. I love that. Good answer. And I loved hearing the story about your dad. And it's also very fun to hear how you kind of come full circle growing up with his background. Very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Aside from Tennis Warehouse, how can people grab a Concha bag, and where can they follow you?
Yes, well, so they can. They definitely find them on Tennis Warehouse now, but we're also available on our site, canchabags.com. We're available on Amazon as well in the US and the UK. But yeah, through our site would be fantastic. And where you can find us, our handle is @canchabags, so CANCHA bags, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. What's the other one?
Are TikTok?
We're on all of them. TikTok, like, that's the one. Yeah, we're on TikTok as well. Don't worry,
wow.
We've got a few videos on TikTok as well. So give us a follow. Yeah.
Nice.
Recently, but yeah, we've joined the TikTok trend. So so we're just same handle @canchabags. You can find us there. We do a few giveaways occasionally, and it'd be great to and yeah, great. We're also occasionally on Clubhouse talking. So if anyone wants to join the conversation. So yeah.
Yeah, good shout out on Clubhouse. And if anyone who doesn't know what that is, download the app and come check us out. I will be on there. I'm on there most Wednesday evenings in California. So it's a fun little place. That's kind of how we connected. And I love the story of your bags. And I'm going to be excited to see it continue to grow. And anything else? Any last words?
No, just thank you so much for having me on here. I've just one thing to say is I was, when I lived in America, 6-7 years old, I was tuning into Tennis Warehouse play tests of by Chris Edwards. I think he was doing them a lot when I was little. But of all the different rackets, most of my tennis education on gear came from Tennis Warehouse, I have to say. Gosh. It's fantastic. I can't tell you how fantastic it is to be available on Tennis Warehouse, to be talking with you, and I'm a big supporter of everything Tennis Warehouse does. I think they've really turned the tennis retail side on its head. Not from, I think, just from the content they produce. For people out there looking to learn more, the shoes, the clothing, I think it's just brilliant. So I wanted to say that before I left, because it's been a massive inspiration for me when I was younger, and I'm sure so many other players out there as well.
I appreciate hearing that, and I will pass on the words of kindness. I have a small antidote. I was up in San Jose for that WTA tournament, and people were saying similar stuff, and it's really cool to hear those stories. And
Yeah.
you never get tired of hearing how you help someone play more tennis or have fun on the tennis court. And now you've got the same thing. You're providing players with an awesome option to carry their gear. So
Thanks very
awesome.
much. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining, Jack. I really appreciate this. We are going to link all your products in the show notes and as well as your website and your handles for everything. And if anyone has any further questions about Concha bags or anything tennis related, feel free to reach us at podcast@tenniswarehouse.com. And happy hitting.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle.